Hey girls, Maria Menounos here, author of the Every Girl's Guide to Life. Want to know my best tips and secrets for organization, travel, weight loss, beauty, fashion, and everything else in between? Go to bing.com/Maria and pick up my new book, The Every Girl's Guide to Life.
You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, King Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, and streaming live on Ustream, this is AfterBuzz TV for The Killing. Tonight's host is Paul Ashton. Joining Paul will be AfterBuzz co-hosts Katie Page and Catherine Tulick. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest The Killing news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, picking up where the show leaves off and the buzz continues, Paul Ashton.
Thank you very much, Sir Richard Wentworth. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to AfterBuzz TV for The Killing, Season 1, Episode 6. Title of the episode was What You Have Left. I am Paul Ashton. How are you? And I'm joined tonight by the delightful and very attractive Katie Page.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
That's all right.
Hello.
I was paid to say that.
Yeah,
sadly,
my parents pay him.
Yeah, so the check's in the mail, I hope, Mr. and Mrs. Page. Catherine Tulich not with us tonight. Apologies for that. Hopefully next week. But look, day 6 in The Killing has kicked off. It was a super episode. When is it not a super episode? Before we get into it, it is that time again to remind you guys all about this. Oh, look at this. I think I'm having some microphone issues. Can you hear me, Jesse? Yeah, it's just I can't hear myself. Boom. Boom.
And that's what he likes to do. He likes to hear himself talk.
It's very important. The Every Girl's Guide to Life. Maria Menounos' book, #3 on the New York Times bestseller list.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really doing well. We talk about it every time, and it's important that you go out and buy it for your sister, your mum, your girlfriend.
Mother's Day is coming up next Sunday.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that is a perfect reason to get involved and buy it. This is really annoying me. I'm going to have to do that. You can hear me the whole time, right, Jesse? No matter whether I'm doing this or not, I just can't hear myself.
If you want, you can plug it and put it in the next one.
Okay. Anyway, whatevs. There it is, guys. Maria's book. Check it out. It's terrific. So, day 6 called
Day 6.
What You Have Left. What do you make of the title, Katie Page? What do you think it's about?
God, I think it's what this entire show is about. They continually analyze, you know, all the little intricacies of this murder.
Yeah.
It's stuff that like Law and Order will go through in one episode, and we're only on day 6. Hasn't it felt like it's been so much longer?
Yeah, it feels like 6 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that's one thing I said last week in my mammoth solo 53-minute one-man show.
Like I said, he likes to hear himself talk.
Thanks for sticking with me, everyone. But one of the things is that I was saying is how it does feel like it's even in one episode you forget it's just one day.
Right.
It's like, I mean, it's what 24 did to the max. So they, you know, it's in real time, and you feel like there's a year in every hour.
Right.
But this is a different kind of show. It's far more in depth, and it's that thing of, in terms of this title, how objects become infused with meaning. And I touched on that last week as well, how things have so much meaning, and obviously it's what the Larson family have left of Rosie that's so important, and what she meant to them, and how things become invested with meaning. And you know, the opening of the episode tonight was really nice in terms of that. I thought this contrast of Rosie being prepared for the funeral, being put in her nice dress, the fake fingernails, like that was just...
That really is like all that's left, you know, in such a physical sense. But the show really covers the emotional life of that one day, you know, as opposed to just all the logistics stuff. And I think what they really kicked it off with Mitch finding that cufflink.
Wasn't it? And that the contrast between, I mean, the cufflink and where that is and what a man does with it and that to me, and the image of her nailless fingers with those plastic things stuck on them. Yeah. And the bright spring or white dress that she, or whatever, you know, that dress that she was wearing, in contrast to Mitch laying out the black shoes, the black dress. And then Mitch and Stan fighting over how old she was when she gave him the cufflinks.
Well, and I think what I really noticed then was that it was so important to them. All they had left were memories like that. Memories. And so it was so important to each of them that it was right, that it was the absolute truth and exactly how it went down, because if you lose those memories, you lose pieces of it, and you can't remember quite the day or the time that something happened. It feels like you have less of that person left. You know what I mean?
But they're so fleeting. They're so fleeting.
Yeah.
And they're so deceptive over time.
Absolutely.
And they were talking about when she was 5.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was with her when she bought them, but she gave them to me then, and they were on the Christmas tree. And it was very sad. But the funeral was an overarching for the family tonight. This day 6 was about her funeral and preparing for it. There are a lot of other things layered through it that we'll discuss. But jumping ahead to the actual to the funeral, the preparation of the funeral, rather, there was also another sister with the two sisters scene with the two sisters dressing each other, Mitch and which was so interestingly shot, I thought, just through
so cinematic.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah,
all in close up. You didn't really get to see what they were doing, but it was just the other side of the closet,
right?
And
it was voyeuristic.
It was voyeuristic, and it made me. I saw the young girls in them.
Right.
I mean, they in fact referenced it. They in fact mentioned something about, remember when you used to dress me, or I used to dress you, or something. I'm not quite sure.
And I actually, in that moment, had a thought when I wrote it down, like how nice. I don't remember her sister's name.
Neither do I.
Okay.
Let's call her Mitch's sister.
I feel like her name was like Toonie or something. Am I right?
I don't know if you can look that up, Jesse. The character name of.
Am I just making that up? I'm making it up. But anyway, the point is, I wrote down like she is just really holding it together.
The
and
sister?
Then, like, of course, yes.
Yes, but then
but
of course,
isn't it just one grand unraveling? I mean, really, this entire day for her, especially.
Terry. Thank you, Jesse.
That's more normal.
Yes, yes. What did you say? It was like a Samoan name.
Yeah, something absolutely.
No, she's
absurd.
She's not a Pacific Islander.
Something like a 12-year-old names their kid when they like accidentally get pregnant. Did I just take it to a weird place?
16 and pregnant, perhaps.
Yeah, they name their kids.
Your
weird
other favorite show.
Crap. It's my favorite show.
We don't talk about that show on this show. Okay?
Yes, they do. They do cover 16 and pregnant, and you should tune in.
AfterBuzz do, but not on The Killing. Thank you very much.
No, sorry about that. Okay.
Mind you,
Let's
it sounded like perhaps Rosie was getting into that kind of world. Anyway, we digress.
Okay.
So Terry seems to be holding it together. They have that lovely little scene. What it made me think of was Rosie. It made me think of, I don't know, because I saw her mother and her auntie as young girls, and that then made me think of Rosie, and it just the whole time it was all just sort of.
Isn't it amazing how attached we are to this character that we really never
know nothing about?
Yeah. We know nothing.
I mean, some things about, but have never met directly.
Exactly. We've never met her. We've never seen her interact with anyone but this elusive killer that we just saw very briefly. Her terrible last 10 minutes of life or whatever. And we're so attached to her.
Yeah. It's in fact interesting. Last week I was reading an interview with Vina Sud, the showrunner and writer and adapter from the Danish series. And I don't think I mentioned this one bit where she talks about whether or not the choice to never meet Rosie and how specific they were in not going there and doing the flashback thing. She acknowledged that flashbacks are incredibly good for creating nostalgia and attachment, but they want the audience to be in the position of the detectives, not knowing anything about her, not having any head start and knowledge.
Here, by the way, is Holden's new look.
The new look. Now, let's talk about. We'll come back to Terry when we talk about the wake and her unraveling.
Yes.
But speaking of unravelings, last week we started to see. The last 2 episodes, there have been little droplets where we've seen a little bit of the Holden's past. And last week he was receiving this money in a yellow envelope. We didn't really know what it was. There's this sense that he's so good at the drug act. And the little tweaker guy said something to him when they were doing the interview, when Stephen was interviewing him about recognizing the tweaker in him. I don't know if you recall that.
Yeah, that was in the second episode.
There's something going on.
Right.
And we see and he turns up in this suit today, like he's trying to take the job more seriously. Is this because Sarah's leaving?
Yeah, because she even made a quip to him, like, when she's gone, he's gonna get put on, traffic.
Right.
Or something like that. But I don't know that that's necessarily it. I don't know what the suit is about, but there has been this element of like this kind of shady undercurrent for him.
Yeah.
But it's been like we've all kind of enjoyed it because it's getting them like closer and closer to the killer, but at the same time it's a little bit of like some sketchy police practice.
There's something going on with him, and we are exposed to it even more today.
Yep.
When he has first of all, the first scene with Sarah, she's like, let's go and ask, just when they're going to do the first bit of questioning on the street where they actually stumble across some pretty important clues. She interrupts him in his first cigarette of the day, and he says the first one of the day tastes the best about the cigarette, and that is just something that someone who has a dependency, like a deep dependency, would say to me. The first one of the day tastes the best. I mean, yes, just a smoker, but to me it just indicated something. And then later on, after he's done his round of questioning, she leaves him and says, "Do some more whatevering," and he pulls out another cigarette. They're making it very deliberate that we see him with his addiction. His addiction is in frame, and then he, of course, sees a little deal going on, a little drug deal, and it gets to him.
Yeah, but he just walks away from it. It gets to him, but he doesn't do anything. Being a former narcotic officer, I thought, that's a little strange. But at the same time, Sarah has her addiction, too, and that's right in the forefront of everything.
The case.
No, not just the case, the gum.
Oh, the Nicorette gum.
Yeah, it's because she quit. Yes, of course. Just because she quit smoking, so there's a little bit of that, little tension.
Well, that's right. And last week I posited the question that gum and her trying to wean herself off this is like metaphoric for her trying to wean herself away from her addiction to this work. And,
yes, that's a very, very deep analysis.
Thank you. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, on AfterBuzz TV, and know that I broke the story.
Stunning.
Enough of your cynicism.
AfterBuzz TV exclusive.
No, but I think it does. There is something going on with her as well on that level.
Yes.
And it is no accident that in her opening scene with her, is it her mentor mother?
It sounds like it was her social worker. Like at some point, like someone that maybe she was in foster care.
Certainly, they have a maternal
like
relationship.
Yeah, she said you were a terrible social worker.
Yeah, that's right.
She to me seems like maybe she was her softball coach, but that might just be.
Is that indicative of your relationship with your softball coaches?
No.
I never played softball.
Well, that's true, but it's because I'm terribly unathletic.
Oh.
But no, she's just like a very gruff like. That was a terrible joke, basically.
Well,
calling her a softball coach.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But she did pick up on. They're talking about. What's her son's name? Max, James, John, Fred, James, Jack.
Jack.
And they're talking about his strength and he'll be able to handle it.
Right.
And she says, you were strong too at 15, but it's that strength that can make you want to leave home at 15 is what she said, which must have been what Sarah did and perhaps when they met. Maybe Sarah left some kind of dark past or her...
Maybe she was a missing girl herself.
Maybe she was a missing girl herself. Why was she looking at the missing girls at the beginning? She said, yeah, we should look into the serial killer thing. That feels like it's got nothing to do with serial killers.
That feels like season 2.
I don't know what that is.
That feels like setting up for season 2. They're doing pretty well now.
But it feels like it had... Well, and they've gone to season 3 in Denmark. But it seemed to me like that, looking at those missing girls, you're right, had more to do with her... the looker than what she was looking at. Well, in terms of the case, I don't feel this is a serial killer. This is someone who knew Rosie.
Right.
I think. Anyway, then social worker, softballer.
Here's the best joke of the episode where he says, "I bought you a going away present for when you actually go away."
Yeah. In a show where jokes are few and far between, that was quite a good one.
Yeah, yeah, you do. I do find myself crying a lot more watching this show than laughing.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But that is why I love the show. It makes me sick to my stomach at the same time as I'm just like so enthralled. And I think it's just such like a, it's almost like a guilty pleasure, but it's not at all because it's not at all like taboo to. You know what I mean? It's
pleasure
not like when I watch
pain.
Right, it's not like when I watch 16 and Pregnant and I can't tell anybody what I'm doing and I eat like a tub of ice cream while I do it.
This is a high art guilty pleasure.
This is a high art guilty pleasure. This is a little bit more acceptable.
It's like a spring slowly twisting in your stomach.
Yes, it is.
Right?
It is something like that. But it also just feels bizarrely like plausible. Like all of the elements of it. Like
it's just like I read a review which said it was a huge achievement in just supernaturalism.
Well, and because they keep everything grounded, there was one thing in this episode, and I'll touch on it later, maybe where I felt like, oh, why did they do that? That was so TV of them. Do you know what I mean? Was
it the final montage? Stan looking over at Ahmed? Oh.
No, it wasn't. It was something with the politics, and I'll have to look at my notes. But
all right. Well, we'll come to that.
Everything else though feels so grounded in reality and not like a ploy for some sort of dramatic point.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just wanted to finish on that earlier point with the social worker, and she said, but that strength, talking about Sarah and her son's strength, that strength that can make you leave home when you're 15 can also prevent friendship, joy, living life. And that's, of course, what Sarah is really up against with this because, again, of course, she's not making that flight. Of course, she's going to owe her son $50 million that she will end up paying off over time, not him. Remember they made that little bet at the beginning?
Oh, right.
He's like, bet you $50 million you make that flight. And of course, they're not going to make that flight.
No, they're not going to make any of their flights.
Otherwise, we don't have episodes 7 through 13. No. Anyway, so Stephen then sees the drug deal, walks away looking pained, and the next time we see him is in a car with a gentleman we've not met before.
Right.
And he's talking about the two sides of him, his dark side and his light side. Or the side that knows what he should do and the side that he doesn't know what should do. Incidentally, as we watch Stan taking out his built-up aggression on
this would be his dark side,
his strongest man in the world competition.
That's his moment of unraveling.
Well, we see the dark side and light side of Stan this episode breaking forth.
But I still love him. I don't care.
No, he's done that.
I love his whole like tough guy thing, and then he falls apart like in the bathroom scene last week. That was just so heart-wrenching.
Extraordinary.
And just
Here's this. Here's the scene we mentioned before, for those listening on the podcast, the scene with the two sisters in the closet, just beautifully shot.
Trying to pick out a dress.
Picking
out a dress for her daughter's funeral. It's just so unreal.
Yeah, the lighting is always so beautiful. But they're always just softly backlit, moodily backlit. They're never too concerned about foreground lighting.
Well, yeah,
and speaking of the dark side, that reminds me, just as it came to me, the scene between the senator, played by Alan Dale, an Australian, incidentally, and Richmond.
That means he's the best, the best actor on the show. If you didn't catch it.
And Richmond, when the senator is saying,
an American actor, I believe. I can't confirm it, but he's obviously far inferior to the other guy.
When the senator is saying, "If you don't win, you're no good to anyone," Richmond's completely silhouetted.
Yeah. Okay, but you're killing me if we go there first. Because
sorry.
We can't go there.
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We have to go back.
So
we were saying the next time that we saw
Stephen, he's in the car with someone who appears to be his sponsor, like an NA
like
sponsor,
But then he appears to know a little bit more, so I feel like maybe he was somebody in narcotics with him. Like he's another PD, like in narcotics, whatever.
Who just knows about Stephen's personal battles with drugs.
Yeah, possibly. Somebody that
I really think
maybe somebody that suggested he move out of narcotics because it was
too close to what he has a problem with.
Yeah, it was too obviously from that one moment of where he saw the drug deal going down, and he does, like I said, have some sketchy practices with the like fake weed when he's trying to get the kids.
But he is so good at it.
He's so good at it.
He becomes a bit of a bull in a china shop when Sarah's around. I think it's that thing how certain people bring the fire out in you and make you want to be a bit more stroppy and loose. But when he's one-on-one, like when we saw him interviewing Amber's sister, Ahmed's wife's sister.
Oh my gosh.
And he's got the little basketball. He's just turning it on, and he shows her the cross on the back of his neck, and it's a little bit.
The first thing I noticed in that scene is when they show that girl. The first thing I noticed was the cross on her chest, and I thought, Okay, so where are they going with this? Obviously, it's making a statement about that character
straight away.
Right away.
Nothing is accidental.
And then his just like little slight manipulation of that, you know, he just really knows how to pick something out in someone in the same way that he did with those girls who just showed him the cage.
Yeah,
stuff where he just really knows how to like play people.
Yeah, he plays that thing where he's a little bit he's a little bit bad boy, a little bit edgy, but he's your friend and he'll make you as cool as he is.
He's a drug dealer.
He plays the drug dealer. That's his archetype that manipulates people.
It's absolutely his archetype, and maybe there's some truth to that. Maybe there's some sort of history.
I totally believe that he has a history in drugs and he has a history with addiction. I really do.
Yeah, but he's now like turned it somehow onto like, you know, manipulating young Christian women and telling what their sisters were so upset about. There's nothing sacred anymore between family members.
And wasn't she lovely?
Yes. She was super racist.
Super racist. However, in this case, it seems her hunch and her family's hunch about Mr. Ahmed might have been right because he's a creep.
Well, right, he's a creep, but it's not, you know,
not because he's a black man, just because he likes to kill 16-year-old girls.
He just happens to be black and a creep,
and have dreads.
What a mess. But what I did notice about that conversation also, you know, is the clear signs of an abusive relationship that Amber, the girl Amber's in. Amber is Bennett's wife.
Pregnant wife, yeah.
Who I'd like to just call Chrissy from now on. Chrissy from Growing Pains. Does anyone remember her from Growing Pains?
Really? She's now... Same actress?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't she a little one on Growing Pains?
Okay. She was. Okay, so Chrissy is obviously in an abusive relationship with Bennett.
Emotionally abusive.
Emotionally abusive. Who knows? I mean, physically, that's not something they're touching on, but she's definitely emotionally involved with him in a really, really unhealthy way. She's isolated from her family that doesn't like him. She doesn't speak to them anymore. She's cut herself off in that way. She was really young and he was older. He took advantage of her. There's so many elements in there where you can kind of see, you know, they want us to see now at the end of the episode, they want us to see her as some sort of perpetrator, right? But the entire episode, she's been largely a victim.
And so the shot of her seen trapped through the cot, through the baby crib. The baby crib. Like literally like little prison bars.
Yep.
There she is, trapped as they're holding a hammer.
I don't know the significance of the weapon. I thought about it.
Did Rosie cop that? Was it because she thought? I mean, she knew it was the cops? Why would she have it out if it was the cops? Did she have it because she thought someone else was coming over? Is she afraid of Ahmed?
Yeah, and also, you know, they'd said that Rosie had spent a lot of time knocking, and they were saying that wife was in the house when she was doing that. So that's very similar circumstances, and we're seeing her in the house, somebody, you know, pounding on the door, and we don't know what happened after that.
So this leads us. It's a nice segue into the next kind of major topic of tonight's episode, which was this sort of unraveling of this part of the plot, where Stephen and Sarah spend a bit of time asking around. Here we go. Here we see them arguing over whether it's a boy or a girl.
It's something really creepy about now this guy's got a young girl coming into the world.
That's exactly what I thought. Exactly what I thought.
I don't know what would have been worse, though, if he was having a son and then his son was then going to be like creepy number 2.
Yeah.
But they clearly were making a statement.
Even the way they kiss is creepy. Not nice. It just incidentally, with him being framed as the most obvious suspect right now, which probably leads me to think that maybe he isn't the murderer. It's a bit too early for us to be...
Sadly, this isn't real life. It really is a television show. So episode 6, you know, it's just like when you watch an episode of like any procedural and the first guy they ask is not the killer because you have 42 minutes left.
Yeah, that's right. Unless, you know, who knows where they go and what other red herrings they place in front of us that maybe distract us as well. I did wonder when we open on Sarah looking at all the missing girls, and they had this discussion of it being a serial killer, and we also know that he has repeatedly done this whole letter exchange with girls. Yeah. Although the serial killer, the victims were missing girls were usually ladies of the night.
Isn't that? Yeah, they were ladies.
So they were probably not his students.
Isn't that though? Like, I think every student's fantasy at some point that like their teacher will take a special interest if they have like the hots for a teacher. It's such an unhealthy thing, and it happens way too often on television these days. They're running that storyline like crazy on television right now with the teacher-student relationship. But they've taken such an interesting approach to it in this one, where they've legitimized it. They've put these people, they're married.
Yeah.
They waited till she was graduated.
Yeah, and he totally has. Like when we first meet him, he totally had the kind of the. Well, I think you found him creepy from the start, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. But
I have a creepometer.
You have a creepometer.
It is really high right now.
It's
for
really
you,
high
by the
right
way.
now. It's really high right now. Is it the tie?
No, actually, I really like the tie.
Or is it just me?
Did you have? I really like the tie. So I guess that answers your question. It's you. Did you ever have any crushes on your teachers?
There was.
What is that? Like you weren't gonna say it. Like.
I can't talk about this for legal reasons. There's a case pending.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bennett Ahmed.
Can we have an exclusive, please?
No.
No.
AfterBuzz TV exclusive.
Miss Munns was a very Linda Munns was as the teachers of my school went the hottest teacher, and all the boys secretly thought about, getting involved, and there was a rumor about her from a past school that she had in fact engaged in.
Of course,
something
because
like
that like
this.
keeps the hope alive.
It keeps the hope alive and legitimizes all these prepubescent boys, or right in the middle of pubescent boys, thinking that they actually had a shot with her. But she was lovely. I wouldn't call it a crush, but at times whatever. How about you?
But isn't it interesting? I mean, I know now we have the Mary Kay Letourneau stuff, so like they like pin her as a harlot. She took advantage of this young boy, but still, I still think it's more normal for like the woman to decide that I know.
Oh,
it's creepy.
He all his mates are like high-fiving him.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Like, great work.
Anyways.
All right, so we just talked about then this.
So Ahmed.
Now we're talking about Ahmed.
Let's talk about Ahmed in this part.
This guy.
There are a couple of witnesses. This guy identified Rosie at 10 p.m. on the Friday night, knocking on the door.
Right, but
very specific.
But he'd been at the dance till 11:20.
We then find out that Ahmed's been at the dance for 11:20. So when they came and confronted him, he lied about accepting the book. So
oh God, that scene! I just felt like. I mean, great acting, because I looked at that guy and was like, that guy is a dirty liar.
He did that so well.
So well.
It was so
suspicious.
Yeah, yeah.
It was so freaking suspicious.
That thing that happens to you when you get caught out and you're not prepared to let go of the truth.
Yes.
It was just so real to him, obviously.
Yes.
Like to him, the actor.
Yeah.
That he was so full with it. And what I loved was how, again, Holden comes straight out and is like, let's nail him. And she goes, he was lying. And he goes, yeah, no, he was lying about being there. I love how specific she was in understanding what his lie was.
Yeah, and we all sort of went, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right.
Because that was not, I think, where we went.
So she goes straight to the, look at the tape. Let's find out what time he left, and that leads to the more information.
But best thing ever was when they're talking about Bennett and his creepy, suspicious activities, and then it cuts to like him hugging Darren Richmond,
which was the final shot, of course, of last week's
of his
episode.
Commercial, right?
And of the commercial, and poor Richmond. We'll come to that next, but
okay,
he really.
So we're still.
But there's just the one other witness is obviously the convenient telescope peeping Tom guy.
Yes, I was like, oh, he has a telescope. How convenient.
Yeah.
That was the moment.
That was a bit too.
Yep. That was a little bit like.
It was a bit CSI, or
just find a better way to do it.
Yeah.
I know that stuff really happens.
It does really happen. People do see stuff. Yeah. You're always being watched, and
I preferred the woman though who was like, I guess you are a police officer. I wouldn't know if it was fake. And I always wonder about that, because they always say, if there's somebody trailing you and they're trying to pull you over and you don't trust them, maybe you call in and make sure. But it's like, if someone comes to your door and they have like the badge, you're supposed to be like cautious. Yeah. Well, how would I know the difference? Yeah. I mean, you can buy those uniforms and the badges. I just loved that she said that.
It was quite funny. And in a way that was probably what allowed... Like, her uncovering the telescope guy just gave it enough of sort of, I don't know. Well, I don't know. It was just sort of funny, and so then she goes, yeah, well, you can. I'm not going to try and do my black woman impersonation. You should, yeah, but can you talk whilst you're here? She then calls in Sarah, and is like, well, can you take care of the peeping Tom, because if you are a cop, then.
Like I've had this problem.
I've had this problem.
Which okay, fine. They tried to make it nice and smooth there.
So, and he was creepy enough, that guy, and he's of course witnessed them carrying a body out in
how did he know it was a girl? He's like, I saw him with a young girl, and she was wrapped in a blanket.
Yeah, so that
was she wrapped in a blanket, or was she a young girl?
Yeah.
How do you know the difference?
And what does wrapped?
That's what I thought, and then he goes, and she's, excuse me, that's what I thought, that she was just standing, maybe shivering, wrapped in a blanket, and
then they were like carrying.
And then he said she was not moving.
And there were two.
So I thought, was she frozen? She a mime? No, she's dead.
Yeah, but she wasn't dead because she died. Rosie died alive in the trunk of a car.
Right.
So there's
she did. And she also was chased.
Yeah.
There was a whole chase scene. I don't think that Amber, was running around pregnant chasing her through the woods, but that's just
No, and she didn't have any massive hammer knocks to the head.
No, she didn't.
At that time.
But, so
there's something going on, but I really don't.
And Peeping Tom didn't speculate that there was a pregnant woman rolling up this girl. So
no, it looks something like.
There's a possibility that maybe she left the dance, something upset her, and she went over to the teacher's house to get some sort of comfort, and maybe there was. I mean, maybe the blanket really was what we were initially thinking about, was that she had wrapped herself in the blanket, and there was some sort of.
Maybe they were going to take her home. Maybe, but then it was the black. But then he said the black car, which is the.
But they put her in the back seat of the car, not the trunk. Yeah. Or did they say they loaded her?
No. I mean, I was just. But so it is the Richmond car. So what else? I mean, they're implicated somehow. Anyway, so it's.
But Darren Richmond is still quickly becoming somehow the hero of that little segment.
Well, he really stuffed it tonight, and I just thought that was stupid. I mean, that was just too obvious the way he walked. I mean, he was so stupid tonight. I mean, I don't know that the show was stupid, but it was so frustrating how we wouldn't have the balls to distance themselves from that. Like Jamie, Jamie's great. Like he really stepped up, and Richmond's linked to Ahmed. They all Gwen and Jamie step in, and they're like, distance yourself. Right. The senator says it. It's like, clearly the guy, he's a potential presidential candidate. He's super hard, super likable, and he just needs to step up and learn how to win.
But he did also say, he's like, I'm not going to ruin this guy's life by insinuating to the public that he's possibly. That is a human thing. That's not a political move.
And that's really great.
And that is what makes you kind of go, oh, maybe he is a good guy. But then he's involved in all this like dirty political stuff. So, but between the three of them, between Darren, Gwen, and Jamie, it's like, who is the worst person? Who can just make themselves a worse person? Like, it's like a fight for who can just be more disgusting.
Well, the senator's realism was sort of, really spoke to that, because he said,
what did they say?
Every politician who's in the game for a long time knows the truth of, first you win, then you worry about being.
Then you do good.
Then you do good. You win, then you do good. And that's what Obama's trying to do, and it's, with limited success.
So pessimistic, though, that whole view. But, I mean, Gwen, I know we were supposed to kind of feel bad for her because, like, the senator doesn't trust her and stuff, but, like,
There's something dodgy about her still.
She's dodgy. I don't like her. She's so unlikable. Yeah. Just generally, and...
I don't know why he's sleeping with her, really. Well, I guess you do. You're in that intimate situation. But just back to the debate, I guess... We know that the current mayor knew about the commercial because he dropped it in. He's like, nice new commercial. So we know that he has the information.
Right.
And I guess...
maybe that principal's going around telling everyone, because she seems to be very quick to discuss the personal politics going on at her school.
Well, obviously, if Stan Larson can find out... I think the principal is, if Stan Larson can find out who the main suspects are, then the mayor certainly can.
Yeah.
And...
well, yeah, and they're just showing up at his house constantly. I mean, they're not keeping it any sort of secret.
That's right.
But that guy, the coworker, Stan's, is just... I loved him last week, was it, when the boy wet his bed?
Yeah.
But I think he's just feeding it. He's just fueling this fire, and I just almost want him to stand down,
Well, it's too late now.
I know, with him giving all that information.
He's the catalyst, and that's the thing. He's the link to Stan's past life, and that's...
He is, that's true.
And that's part of Stan's, like, onion unraveling.
Right.
You know? And, but I just wanted to say one more thing about the debate, about the way the one thing that I guess it explains why Richmond gave himself up. It seemed that the mayor was really going hard in that debate about crime, and
the juxtaposition between...
he was leading him. He Richmond was resisting talking about his All-Stars program, resisting it, and that is his argument, that is his approach, his policy, and the mayor kept arguing with him on that stuff, but Richmond was having to not bring it up because he didn't want the mayor, but he just he was losing.
Out politicianed him. Do you know what I mean? Like he would just.
Well, he had the information. I mean, he had the information that.
Yeah, but you were saying that Darren really messed up this week, and a better politician would have steered clear, at all costs of that topic. But there was such a nice juxtaposition between that interview about criminals and like hard criminals and where should we send murderers and rapists and stuff, and it was like literally just cross-cut with scenes of Stan in the car with Bennett, and I just thought that was really interesting.
Yeah,
because they're just doing everything to paint him as as he's the guy.
And
this
vigilante,
episode.
and it's like vigilante justice. The posse goes out and it's
Right.
like Old West.
Yep.
Like Stan taking it into his own hands. And we really find out that he was a standover man for the mob. 18 years ago.
Yeah, but
and had a
I'm
gambling problem.
I'm very pleased to see that in the previews, at least for the next episode, that that it appears at least that Stan has not killed him yet.
No.
I would be very
that's
disappointed
right.
if he becomes a dead end in the investigation because he's dead.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Just like Stan's gambling problems. They you can't. What did they say?
That dead men don't press charges.
Dead men don't press charges.
But in that, I think that would really be like, I know that they could do it and it would be very dramatic, but it would really, really frustrate me because he knows so much. Whether he's lying or telling the truth, there's a lot more information to be found in him. And I just want him alive to tell it.
Yeah, I think a really important dynamic would be lost if they did it, and I don't think he will kill him.
But the fact that Stan's going to be holding him somewhere, and it appears, that the police then are privy to it, that's going to put Stan in a very negative light and his kind of cronies. But they did talk about, they said, did this look like a mob hit to you? Like they were saying it has nothing to do with his past life that she was killed.
It's just,
it just happens to be crossing with it because Stan is acting out.
That's right. And then, of course, it comes to the wake at the end. I mean, I was talking about this last week as well, the way the show slowly sort of, an episode is structured. They're sort of particular, and they tend to follow this pattern of these, slow and montage, like a more slow visual montage at the beginning, and then the characters interact, but the scenes are longer, and then toward the end we just get to a faster montage with music that's usually very percussive and beat, and driven. And by the time we get to the wake tonight, that we come to that montage, except with a different piece of music tonight, this sort of country rock song, which
it's like folk. It's Nico Case.
Nico Case?
Yeah.
All right,
it's like folksy. But like, just really quickly on the TV, they're showing the family standing around the grave site.
The actual grave, yeah.
Can we discuss how the two boys are killing it this episode?
Oh, they kill it
pulling
every time.
my heartstrings.
No pun intended.
This one, I know. He throws in, so Rosie can find us when she flies over. Oh my.
This kid's face.
Oh.
I mean, he could compete with the kid from Game of Thrones for cute, like.
Oh
cute
my
face.
God, I know. You just want to like cry looking at him. He's so cute and just precious. And then the other boy asking to carry the coffin.
Oh my God. But what I love this bit where he stepped on the centipede. I loved the bit where he stepped on the centipede.
Yeah. What
did you make of it? Like, is that because he's thinking? I first I thought, is that a worm? I was like, God, we're in Hamlet. There's the worm that's going to go and eat Rosie. But still, that's what you think about. It's like, is that thing going to go in there with Rosie? No, and is that why he kills it? But centipedes are they're more horror movie than worms. It's not just about fertilizing.
I think that this is just showing this young boy's like, emotional journey through this whole thing. We've seen him be so sad and so angry, and it was like how quickly he just turned from being sentimental and very upset and to just vicious. Very, very quick, cold, quick, boom.
Kill the centipede.
Killed it with some real anger there.
Yeah.
Very cinematic. That was very cinematic. Not something you see a lot on broadcast television. So
no. Yeah. Absolutely. There are a lot of great. It was a very cinematic episode, actually.
They all are.
I mean, they all are. Yeah, that's true.
But and how much I love that Seattle is
the home.
The home. I think the rain is such a perfect accessory. It just kills me. But also, I feel like Seattle, at least in my view, is pretty. The politics are not like a widely discussed, fought over thing, you know. So they can place this world in Seattle, and we believe it.
Right.
I don't know what the waterfront issues are there. I'm sure people who live there know that kind of thing, but. I believe these political issues. I believe these people.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't a fake town. This is a real place. But I don't have any
judgments.
Yes, I don't have any preconceived notions
yeah.
about what Seattle is. But I do. All we know about Seattle is the rain and that it's kind of a dreary place. But
it feels
how much is really going on?
Yeah.
You know.
And it comes now to the wake, and we see what's his name, Jasper's dad, and we realize that it was. Terry, Mitch's sister, who Jasper was having sex with up in his room when Stan barged in episode 1 or 2.
Yep.
1.
But we haven't really decided if Stan makes an acknowledgement. He did look a bit uncomfortable. Because what happens is, okay, so Terry says hi to Jasper's father, like, oh, hi. Like, she recognizes him and hello, good to see you.
And he ignores him and turns away, and then she immediately goes and drinks.
Yeah, she immediately goes and grabs a drink. She's so uncomfortable and embarrassed, and then they pull back, and they just stop on Stan's face, which makes you think that he sort of is like, you know, uncomfortable. That's what that face is about.
It was very strange, and then she took it out on Stan's mate, saying you're not part of the family, you know.
She did, but you know, of course... In mobs, you're all family.
I mean, that we saw her unraveling, and then in the montage coming up, she's drinking alone at home, and there's something on the desk, and I can't see what it is. Some drawings or sketches.
I thought those were just the records she was going through.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Maybe it's literally that simple, but anyway.
It might be, but either way, that's the first time we really see her. She sort of fell apart at one point at the sink, like, I don't know what to do, Mitch, I want to help. But otherwise, you know, she's really, really stepped up. She's been taking care of the kids. She's kind of done everything.
But there's something going on because she had sex with Rosie's ex-boyfriend, who's 17. So I don't know how that's going to come into play, but something tells me it will. Are
we sure it was Rosie's ex-boyfriend? It wasn't the father?
No, the father was away. Jasper was alone there. He was on ecstasy. They'd been taking drugs.
Right, and we had thought initially like it was just some old hooker. How come we didn't recognize her?
And that's also the weekend that Rosie's been away.
Right.
Been lost for 2 days. So I expect that somehow this will come out.
Oh, absolutely.
And of course, the wake begins, and eventually in the next sort of next few scenes, Stan gets the information that it is Ahmed that is being investigated, and he wants to take it into his own hands, and it looks like Ahmed's in deep trouble. And Sarah and Stephen get that information and then go to try and chase him, and everything's getting pretty drastic.
And did you notice when Stan also, when he finds out it's Ahmed, right? So he goes, who, the teacher? And he's like, the black man standing behind you. And he turns, and then when he looks at him, then they show the 2 boys, and a chill just runs through those 2 boys.
They see something like they haven't seen in their
something
father
crosses
before.
his face that they don't recognize.
Yeah.
You know, and you really have seen like that he really was a changed man. He really had this family man stuff going on. And
it reminded me of when it was different, but in the same territory as when they looked at their mother on the phone, hearing in the opening episode, hearing Stan screaming.
Yep.
And they're looking at their mother, and they've never seen her like this before. They don't understand what's going on, but they know it's really bad. And they look at their dad in this time, and it was just such an amazing perspective to choose to give us from the director, and I really appreciated it. Yeah, that's exactly like they're seeing something that they have not seen before.
So we leave with Stan driving away with Bennett, who made a very meek. You missed the turnoff. And then realizes, oh, okay, that's the scariest man I've ever been in a car with.
Yeah.
And sort of shuts up and looks very nervous.
I wasn't so sure in that final montage. Just Stan gave that look to him over like that, and then I wasn't sure if it was overkill a little bit.
I don't know.
You didn't bother you?
No, because I love Stan so much.
Yeah.
I love, like, the tougher he gets, the more I think about the times when he was crying, and then the more I'm like, my heart explodes because I'm a girl.
He's brilliant at it. So anyway, let's think about, we saw the clip for next week.
Right.
Let's have a chat about some.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV
predictions.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure to do that.
It is a lot of pressure. But that's the beauty of this show. I mean, we have mentioned some already. We're going to definitely find out more about Terry and her relationship with Jasper and what that has to do with Rosie.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to find out, I think, more about Stephen, his addictions, and it might just tell us more about the character as to whether it'll impact on the case or not. Possibly not.
I want to know, and I think we need to know pretty soon. Obviously, I think Sarah's fiance is going to throw another fit when she doesn't come back.
Do you think they will split up? Do you think he will split up with her by the end of the... Do you think this case will cost her engagement?
Possibly. I think it's irrelevant. What is relevant?
Probably relevant to Sarah, but...
Sure. Sorry, Sarah. I didn't mean to say that.
No, I'm kidding. She's not real, so...
That's right. Except those boys really may have lost their sister. They're so good at acting.
Yeah, I believe them.
Which is a terrible thing to say. This is taking a weird turn. What I want to say is that Sarah, he might throw another fit, whatever it is that's going to make it come out about what Sarah previously had been obsessed with.
Yes.
Whatever that case was, the case that got away.
Up on the wall, things up on the wall.
The case that got away from Sarah, the missing girl case that she obsessed about, that he keeps alluding to, saying you're not going to be obsessed again, are you? You're not going to get involved again, are you?
That's what the missing girls were about. It's about the last case.
Yeah.
It's about the previous case.
So I think we're gonna. Yeah, she's trying to give this that little. Nice little tie-up.
Well, look, it's going to be... One thing's for sure is it will be a damn fine episode next week for Day 7.
It always is. I have not been disappointed yet.
And we didn't go into a full news and gossip section, but do know, you may have looked at the trades this week, Mireille Enos, and her name is Mireille, not the abomination of guesses I had at it last week. It's French. Well done, me. Anyway, it looks like she's been cast in World War Z. Huge feature film with Brad Pitt. Big zombie movie.
It was a huge best-selling book, too.
We'll go into that a bit more next week when we have more time. But thank you very much, everyone, for listening. This is AfterBuzz TV for The Killing, Season 1, Episode 6. That is Katie Page over there. I'm Paul Ashton. That was DJ Jesse. As always in the booth, it was great to have you with us, and we look forward to seeing you this time next week. Cheers, guys.
From producers Kevin Undergaro and Phil Svitek, engineer DJ Jesse Janity, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. If you have questions or comments, be sure to buzz us at info@AfterBuzzTV.com. And you can find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.